Welcome to Commander Pop Culture, a place to gather magical information with some laughs, might I add.
Hello everyone. So, kind of curious. Are my deck techs, the shit or just shit?
Shit, boy.
You have to let me know in the bottom, in the comment section. But built you two versions of this list. I built you a very not budget version, and I built you a budget version. We'll start with the non-budget, and then I'll go to the budget, because then I like to talk about like how I make cuts and how I whittle things down to make it more affordable to, a good portion of the population or the player base out there. So what does Y'shtola Knight's Bless do? She is a 2/4 vigilance, has a trigger where at the end step, if someone has lost 4 life, you get to draw a card. And then on the other paragraph, it says whenever you cast a non-creature spell that's 3 or greater, you deal 2 damage and you gain 2 life. Now, there's some plus sides to this just on its own. Because she has such a large butt, I feel like you could get in for some chip damage pretty consistently with this, because a lot of people don't like trading off their pieces for nothing. So even if the board gets cluttered with things, it's not something you could easily block and kill, if that makes sense. And then, after you land your 2 points of damage in combat, you just play a spell in your main phase 2, and then you get the top trigger. So on its own, it's pretty decent. And then, if you are interested, this is a control, good stuff, group slug kind of list. The reason why group slug is pretty nice with her, the tax effects that tax people's life are probably one of the best effects in the game for her.
No pain, no gain.
Because then you don't have to chase this ridiculous, I'm trying to cast spells that are 3 or greater and cast 2 of them on everyone else's turn. So that's not a realistic prospect. It's not going to work out for you. You'll have a clunky deck that doesn't really work. Thus, the group slug effects kind of give you that chip damage, and then people lose life naturally. This even triggers if you lose life. So if people hate what you're doing, if they take their frustration on you, you still get to see a card on their end step. So it's kind of it's a nice reward, to put it simply. And if they beat your opponents, they lose 4 more life, you get to draw. If they themselves hurt themselves, which a lot of really great effects hurt yourself. So fetch lands, shock lands. I feel like 2 damage is the magic number from our group slug effects, because if we could get to half, that means the shock lands is all we need for them to hit that end step trigger that we want. There are some caveats to that way of playing. Group slug is incredibly popular, and there aren't a lot of great group slug effects that I've noticed. I built this budgetless version with ease, didn't take a lot of cuts or time. Normally, when I build a deck, I'll have 50 synergy pieces at the end of this, and I have to whittle it down to 30. This, I got to 30, and I had to look for some more, because there's simply not a lot of good slug effects. You could play aristocrats, but then you kind of muddle the theme and the goal of the deck. I didn't want that. I wanted to maintain the slug and not have to include a bunch of rinky-dink creatures, what have you, to make it happen. So this is just a good stuff list, where every piece on its own combos with Y'shtola. I like to pair things up with your commander where you just need one thing. You don't need to form a puzzle. I hate those kinds of lists. I think it's an incredible waste of time. When you have to say, I need something else to make this card good, and it doesn't mean your commander, it's probably not a wise choice.
Time out. Bad idea.
Assault Intercessor. Whenever creature dies, opponent dies, they lose 2 life. That's half of our, threshold of 4. like I said earlier, we're looking for the 2 damage or 2 loss of life, with the hopes that someone hurts themselves with their own effects. The only streetwise lookout, it combos with our commander. It will double her triggers, so if we play 1 spell that's 3 or greater, she'll trigger twice. We'll drain people someone for 4, gain 4 life, and then we draw a card off of 1 spell cast. Super good. Enduring Tenacity, this also pairs up with our commander really well, where whenever we gain life, we cause someone else to lose life for a total of 4. Again, we play something that costs 3 or greater. Your Stola triggers draining for 2. Then we drain for another 2 from Enduring Tenacity. We draw a card on the end step. Hell yeah, the Radiant Dawn. This is a fun pick. This is more so for the backside, but the front side is pretty good too. We do have a fair amount of enchantments that are important to the theme of slugging people. Some of the best effects are enchantments, so like if someone destroys them, we get them back with the ETB trigger. But the best part about this is you flip it over, and we have this sick effect where you can cast spells as if they had flash, which means we can cast things 3 or greater on other people's turns at instant speed. And then spells get reduced in size for one of the most powerful effects. People drawing cards. People love drawing cards. It's a must in the game, especially in Commander, the format, because the person who draws the most cards, plays the most cards, wins games. So they are feeding into our game plan, reducing the cost of our 3 or greater spells. Just does everything you want on both sides, really. Kimball drains an opponent for casting a non-creature spell. Perfect. Liesa drains whenever anybody casts anything. Super good. This is probably one of our A-listers right here. One of the easiest enablers to, make sure we hit 4 life loss on every end step. That Greedy Lamplight Mare kind of does a cool little effect where it diverts attention to ourselves because it makes people think twice about attacking us. It cuts their damage output because we mitigate the loss with life gain and then drain that person for 2 life. Super cool. If they come our way, they get punished for it. Bring it on! We will lose our 4 life and we still get the draw with our commander. Or, they go at someone else, which is equally as good. Like, whatever scenario that an opponent, plays around this card, it's good for us. Massacre Worm, this is another one of those creatures like our Assault Intercessor that triggers whenever something dies. That player loses 2 life. Super good for what we want. And it has an ETB trigger. It's a classic. Roaming Throne to double our Drain trigger. Sakashima, this is a good clone list if you want to go that route, because obviously this also has the same effect where we only need to play 1 spell to get the 4 life loss that we're looking for. Same with Sakashima the Imposter. Shoulder, this is another slug effect. Whenever someone draws, they lose 2 life. It's a popular effect. Should get multiple triggers a turn, getting us, the end step draw trigger. Got Spark Double. Sig River Cutthroat kind of does the same thing as our commander in terms of draw triggers. Requires less life loss, but we like cards, especially as a control deck. Control decks are good at trading 1 for 1 because of all the cards they see. It's probably the only time where I do play a lot of 1 for 1 spells. It's because we typically see more cards than everybody else. Italian, you have to be kind of creative in the number you choose on ETB because it drains whenever someone casts some of mana cost, power, or toughness. So if you're not really good at evaluating boards and thinking about how people built their lists, this might be a tough one for you to play with, but it's not for me.
As a specimen, yes, I'm intimidating.
So I love Talion. It's one of my favorite cards in the game. Vein Ripper, whenever something of someone else's dies, they lose 2 life. Veto, this cuts our trigger in half, where we gain life from the bottom paragraph, and then Veto will drain for the second half to meet the requirement of the top half of our commander. Now we're into the more creative parts of our game. because you're going to be playing with a lot of like big clunky spells, your curve's going to be a little off, but like we'll come back to this on. Our curve is 2.8. This is deceptively high. It's probably a lot lower because we have a lot of effects that alter the casting cost of spells. So like this one in particular, it doesn't reduce the cost of itself, but it reduces the cost of the next thing you cast, i.e. we play another thing that costs 3 or more and we get double the triggers with Y'shtola. Another legendary token for our commander. Massacre is a free spell that acts as a mini, like a load of the ground board wipe. Painful Truce because I like it. I also like it because it drains us for 3 life if we pay the max into it for Converge. Then we only have to hit ourselves for 1 damage, and then we see an additional card on top of the 3 we get with this. Not a hard ask to accomplish. Yahenni's Expertise. Another one of those like spells where we pay full price for this, but we get a free one after, and hopefully we drain our opponents with it. Deadly Rollick. This itself is free if we have our commander. It's removal. Dismember is hilarious because we will always pay 4 life to reduce the cost to just 1. Not only does it trigger our commander, but it guarantees the top paragraph because we ourselves are costing us 4 life loss. If we follow up with another spell, we can make someone else lose life, but just on its own, we're guaranteed to draw a trigger, and we cut the life loss in half because we gain 2 from Y'shtola. It's super fun. Another free spell. Flawless Maneuver, another free spell that's through a greater. Frantic Search. This is another way where we can get free spells by untapping our lands. So like, we get a trigger with Y'shtola, we untap those lands, and we follow up with another spell. Rewind, same difference, only its interaction when you counter a spell. Snuff Out, another free spell that's removal. Submerge, a really annoying removal spell. Like I feel like this card is underplayed for $3, but putting stuff on people's top of their library is super annoying because like not only do you like tempo someone, but like you steal their draw. It feels really bad to have this done against you. If you've never experienced having to do that, like Teferi from Dominaria, it feels awful. Now we get that in the spell that's free. Undermine, it's a counter spell that drains for 3, so we get the desired effect of Y'shtola will drain for 2, 5 loss of life. We get a draw step trigger. Most of our interaction spells will lead to a card draw replacing itself, and that's what Control does the best at doing. It allows you to play 1-for-1 very effectively. I wouldn't recommend that in Commander because you have 4 opponents, but if you're drawing a lot and you're replacing the card that you play,
It makes sense, doesn't it?
Unwind, untap 3 lands and counter a non-creature spell. Withering Torment, destroy an enchantment or creature, drain 2 life, so we'll trigger Y'shtola to give us a draw. Inca Mishra, one of the best slug effects. Whenever a land enters, you do 2 damage to that person. It's asymmetrical for us because if we hurt ourselves, we will gain our life, and it's like whatever. A lot of these effects that hurt ourselves too is negligible because of the life gain from this. But for our opponents, it's kind of a big deal. This is one of the most annoying slug effects because of how efficiently costed it is. There's really not much that can compete with it. I remember when there was a time when this is like a 50-cent card and no one played with it, but I think Y'shtola really caused this card to grow in price value. Not to mention there's been a lot of other slug commanders that want this in their lists. So I think it's just the product of the time. For Feast of Famine, this lets us cast a spell main phase 1, cast another spell main phase 2 because it untaps all of our lands. Help us, fix our mana curve problem of being 3 or greater. Blood Chief Ascension, an oldie and a goodie. Whenever a card goes to the graveyard, any card, doesn't matter what it is, they lose 2 life, you gain 2 life, as long as you have 3 quest counters on this, I think. Yeah, 3 quest counters. That's nothing. It'll happen. You'll probably reach the 3 quest counters before it even reaches your next turn. You probably start draining people on the 4th person's turn most of the time. Restu's Crypt. Whenever someone draws a card, they have to reveal it. If it's a creature, they have to pay 3 life or discard their draw. It's pretty brutal. I feel like creature decks are very popular, and this should trigger pretty consistently, putting you closer to, getting the draw trigger. I'd say 9 times out of 10, people are going to keep the creature, take the damage, and then they'll crack a fetch land or something, use their City of Brass, and then bam, done deal. Curiosity. This is super sick with our commander because she deals damage. So every time she deals damage to someone, we draw a card.
It's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year.
We hit each opponent for 2, and then we draw 3 cards. Ghoulish Impetus. This was another one of my creative picks. I really wanted to take advantage of... There's more than one way to cause loss of life, and the other one is combat. I think that gets forgotten in Magic for how often I see people not attack when they have open lanes without any repercussion. And this buys us time. If there's a big dumb thing in play that we don't want coming our way, we just force someone else to take the damage and we draw off of it. And then this one's particularly good because it comes back, but I'm running all the impetus cards for I want people to drain each other to give us our draw triggers to increase our likelihood of getting a draw trigger on every end step. Helm of the Ghast Lord, sorry. Another curiosity effect where if we deal damage to someone, we draw a card. It's also pretty sick because we also force people to discard cards. Pretty brutal. And it gives us a +2/+2 stat increase, so our commander becomes a 4/6, and if we deal damage to someone, that's another way to, get our draw triggers. We were talking about one impetus, I'm not going to talk about them all, but Ophidian Eye, another curiosity effect. We deal damage, we draw cards. Painful Quandary. I love this card. They lose 5 life unless they discard a card, so either way it's a win-win for us. We're slowing people's game down, or they're accelerating our game plan to interact with them with all of our cheap interactive spells. Looted Bonds. You pay 3 extra mana because this only affects your opponents, but it's an Anka Mishra. Sanguine Bond. This cuts our triggers in half. We gain life off the Shtola trigger. We drain another 2. We get our draw step. Or end step draw. Soul Barrier. Whenever an opponent casts a creature spell, we do 2 damage to them. Super good. It's an enchantment. Super old. 22 cents. It's a steal. Seal the Godhead. Another way to give our creature or our commander a stat increase for 4 damage. And it makes it unblockable. Seems like an easy add-in, and I like gaining life because I feel like we're not going to be making a lot of friends.
Every living thing that crawls, flies, or squats in the mud wants to kill you and eat your eyes for jujubes.
Probably could use all the life gain we can get. Treachery to steal something and untap our lands, and Trident Chasing, the double trigger on the bottom paragraph. Vile Consumption. It gives every creature the, if you don't pay life, you have to sack it. We don't care about losing life because we will get the draw trigger anyways. And we don't play a lot of creatures. We have 18 in the list, so this is not going to hurt us as bad as it hurts everyone else. But we welcome hurting ourselves as well. And the rest are lands. Field of the Dead is just a low-hanging fruit that you just shouldn't ignore. It deserves to be on the Game Changer list. Surprised it didn't happen sooner, but it's there now. And this is just the, make blockers, so, when people are pissed off with us, we have fodder to not get hurt as bad. Now that we're done with that, let's talk about the budget version of the list. If you want to buy this deck on TCG Player, you have to pay over $100 for it.
Kiss my ass.
You could pay $100 for a deck that you don't know what's in it and get totally screwed. Or you could have a really good shell with this and at least get, your money's worth. I hate how MSRP is ridiculous pre-release, and people spend their money and they don't even know what it is they're buying. It's insane to me.
You know what you get for pre-ordering a game? A big dick in your mouth.
Why people do that, but they do. I'm only going to talk about the things that we've added, because obviously if we want to be around $100, we have to cut everything that's like $6 or more. I left a handful in here, but that means we get a lot more creative with what we play with. One of those creative things is Tandem Lookout. It's another curiosity effect, but it's on a soul bonding creature. Not bad if you want to play it in the budgetless version either. So like, maybe you like my budgetless version more and you play with proxies, and there's stuff in here that you'll like. I highly encourage you pick and choose whatever you want. Like, if you don't like my impetus picks, you could probably pick some of these creative thoughts and swap them out with that, because I feel like the impetus parts is probably the weakest part of that list, but it's just a fun, creative way I thought I could explore getting people to lose 4 life every end step. So I wanted to keep that identity in here as well. Okay, risky shortcut. Each opponent loses 2 life. We draw 2 cards, so we'll cause Y'shtola the trigger, draining another 2. We get our extra draw stuff. So this is like a pay 3 to see 3 cards. I love the rate of that. These effects are perfect. Treasure Cruise has Delve, reduces the cost by exiling stuff from our graveyard to see 3 cards. Because we don't get as many free spells due to being on a budget, we have to play with a lot of like cost reduction spells. So like this one gets its removal that's reduced by tapping our creatures down, and we still get the bottom paragraph trigger on our commander. Same with Pile On and Lethal Scheme. Dig Through Time is another delve effect. The curve on this list is slightly higher. It was 2.08 over here, and this is 2.1, so we're only 2/100ths rather higher, and I still managed to keep this list nice and low. And it's deceptively lower because of all the cost reduction that is in here. Same still applies. Murderous Cut for removal and delve. Baleful Mastery, will probably be casting this for the 2 mana and just letting someone else draw. And what's crazy about this is you could choose someone else to draw. So like, what I usually do is I kill the biggest, baddest thing on the table with it, and I give the weakest player the draw.
Save your pity for the weak.
Not only do I make recommendations on cards for your list, I actually buy and play them myself. I feel like it's important to do that. I don't want to be, I don't know, recommending garbage if I truly believe it's good. I want to practice what I preach. Wand of the World Soul. It's kind of cool little rock. You could tap it to give the next spell you cast Convoke, i.e. anything. Super fun, super cool. Wanted to give it a shot. Was budget friendly. Conclave Tribunal, removal with Convoke. We exile a target permanent. Sigil of Sleep. This acts like Curiosity, where we get a damage trigger, and we, instead of drawing cards, we start bouncing people's creatures back to their hand. So this is actually a really good pick even for the non-budget version, if you want to follow in the removal footsteps. Super annoying to play against. And that brings us to the end. So I'm just unwilling to pay a premium price for something I don't know what's in it. And I feel like that's universal for everybody out there in the world. I feel like we bust our asses at our jobs, and every dollar counts nowadays, and there's probably a lot less available for you to spend on your hobbies like Magic. And to put it simply, I'm not spending my money on something I don't know what's in it. And I feel like Wizards has such a shitty reputation. They have to earn my dollar. They have to earn my trust. So that should be how it is for everyone else. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. If you stick around, I'm going to do text for other 3 decks. Celeste, then Sin, and Cloud. And I'm going to play these when these release next month. I think it's May 20th. And the pre-release will start, or like the spoiler season starts, I think on it's usually 2 weeks, so the 6th of May. Be a fun time. Hope you're all ready. Take your votes, what you want to see. Have a great night. Bye.